Hello, this is Putin and Tem on this powerful evening. Today we'll discuss Zelensky's tears live on air. Volodymyr Alexandrovich said that he cries when he sends men to their deaths, and naturally he feels sad when women with children are left alone. We'll talk about this now, but first, let's take a look at a representative of Zelensky's party. There's a deputy here who says interesting things that, again, don't match up at all with this statement about tears. This militant, you see how strong he is, with muscles in one place, is talking about how in America, supposedly... Well, let's watch. I'll translate for those who don't know.
Let's watch those police videos from the States. YouTube is huge now. You just wave your hand and they've already shot you. Because there, a police officer has the right to use a weapon instantly.
He says, apparently envies Fedenko, that's the name of this person, that he judges the United States based on what he sees in movies. Of course, he has some movies about the USA on YouTube. And by these movies, he judges life in the USA, in particular that according to him, all you have to do is wave your hand in front of a police officer and you could get shot. Or rather, they've already shot you. He says that the police have the right to shoot anything that moves. That's the kind of analyst he is. And roughly speaking,
American citizens have a duty not to wave their hands at police officers if they are stopped.
yes, and American citizens have the right and obligation not to wave their hands when a police officer stops them. And breathing is forbidden and you have to blink exactly 50 times a minute. Otherwise, that's it, it's over.
That's what it says. And up to 3, meaning according to their own laws, it will be 3 according to their own laws.
And here the police officer will follow his own laws and the citizens will follow their own laws. That's another blunder. In Fedenko's short 28-second speech, and he claims that apparently the police officer has his own laws and the citizen has his own laws. That's kind of strange.
That's somehow not right, even though we're moving towards the European community.
But in Ukraine, they say that you can't just shoot a citizen when he's waving his hands in front of a police officer, even though we're moving towards the European community. Here you can point out to the deputy that the USA is not the European Union, dear Fedenko, whom we don't respect. The USA is located across the ocean. There is a continent called North America, and one of the countries on that continent is the United States of America. It's also a country that you could say consists of separate countries, of separate small states, which are called states. And it's not Italy or Spain, these are their own American ones. Well, I'll try to explain simply so that the deputy understands. And Europe, that's the Eurasian continent. That's where Ukraine, Russia, Georgia, as well as Italy and Spain and even Germany are located. There, that's it. And the people who live in the European Union, that's the European community. If we're moving towards them, then we shouldn't shoot at our own citizens, because this isn't the USA, even if such things happen there. We're not moving towards the USA, are we? Or what's going on? Ukraine is already joining some 50-odd states in the USA, or so the deputy seems to think. So just imagine, these people are the ones writing the laws. He doesn't understand legislation. He judges other countries based on movies and YouTube, which he thinks is huge. What can you expect from someone like that? Like we joked in school, all you can get from him is a stool sample. Well, even stool samples, you know, because sitting in front every day, I mean in a restaurant, not everyone can handle that. And even there will be samples. Anyway, let's not talk about it. Let's talk about Zelensky's tears. There are a huge number of news stories today. So, the president of Ukraine said that he cries, you see, when he gives certain orders. Maybe, for example, when there was an order to put Yermak in a pre-trial detention center, maybe he cried then. But no! It turns out that he cries when he makes decisions concerning people's lives. There's even an interview where the journalist laughs for some reason when she asks, "When was the last time you cried?" Well, maybe she understands that basically he never does. On the contrary, there was a different reaction, and Zelensky, laughing again, starts to answer, but then suddenly becomes sad, remembering that people are watching and saying, well, when I give orders that affect, or rather, concern people's lives, I cry, I sob. Well, that's how things are for us. That's the kind of empathetic president we have, and the journalist is probably just shocked. And he said the following directly, quote, "It's very hard when I give orders. It's always hard for me. It's hard when I give orders to mothers and fathers who have lost their children. Of course, at times like this, it's really hard for me. I often cry. This was said in a video from the G7 summit, that is the very magnificent seven, which includes the strongest, most powerful military economies in the world, including, of course, Ukraine, naturally. Then what? Then Zelensky made a few more statements at the meeting with Trump. It took place in a very warm atmosphere, in a heated, you could say, setting. The presidents are sitting face to face and the situation is heating up. And he stated, first of all, that 60 Russians want to stop the war. And at the same time, today I came across some news on Telegram. Let me try to find it quickly. About, I think, here it is, I found it. That's 79. 9%. Ukrainians believe that Ukraine should liberate Crimea by military means, by military force. It turns out that people in Ukraine are set on war. That's what they want to say. It's clear that they only asked Zelensky's relatives, friends, and lawmakers. That's obvious, but it just sounds strange. So, 60 Russians want peace, and suddenly 79 Ukrainians, or why not 150, I don't know, percent of Ukrainians want to take Crimea away by peaceful means. They want the borders of 1991 and victory so badly they can't stand it. But it's mostly those abroad calling for war. Sometimes I get comments like that. People say, what do you want? We need to take Crimea away. We need to take Moscow, or even go further somewhere else. And then it turns out the person is writing from somewhere like Canada, you know, from their couch. Well, I myself live abroad in Spain, but I'm not urging anyone to fight. On the contrary, I'm against any kind of war. Any peace is better than any war. The best, the kindest, the most cleansing, whether it's religious, everyday, it doesn't matter. Any peace is better than all of this. And they're trying to tell us that white is black, black is white, and so on and so forth. By the way, today there was a commentator on YouTube who said that one kind of propaganda is better than another because, well, whatever. Let's see what we have next. Trump has already stated that, listen, a deal should be made with Russia. Russia has lost a huge number of people, just like Ukraine. Last month, they lost 35,000 soldiers in total. That's just for 1 month. On average, 25,000 people, mostly soldiers. And we had a meeting. Let's see. I spoke with Putin. Trump said this on Sunday. I also talked about this in the previous video, that there was some kind of meeting over the phone, not in person, and Trump spoke with Putin virtually, or rather by phone. The same with Zelensky. He just spoke with Zelensky. But honestly, if you ask me, I think this won't lead to anything. They've had many conversations together and separately, but as the saying goes, they just end up frustrated and in tears, with nothing good coming from it. What is our Zelensky saying? Sitting on a chair at the G7 here, we have mayors who suddenly showed up. He doesn't even seem to live in Ukraine anymore. Again, it will show a super confidential conversation. He says the following. And he appreciated it highly, so all this is unnecessary. The priorities are clear. More anti-aircraft missiles, licenses for their production, a package of support measures for the winter period, increased pressure on Russia, US support, basically give us money. Well, in other words, nothing new. Plus, Zelensky is also threatening Russia with a harsh winter. He says that Ukraine had a really tough winter, and it was terrible. I have friends in various Ukrainian cities. That's true, the winter was terrible, and as far as I remember, unfortunately, not everyone survived. Because elderly people are very sensitive to the cold. They don't have the means to keep warm. The heart muscle usually fails, and as a result, a person can either die or have a heart attack. And during shelling, who is going to save a person? Situations like this happen all the time. So, Zelensky says that apparently something similar will happen in Russia. Zelensky promised they will also have a difficult winter this year. He said this, apparently meaning Russia by them, and he stated that he recently discussed his proposals with the Russian oligarch Roman Abramovich. That's a whole different story, of course, because Abramovich came to him to talk about peace and apparently offered reasonable ways to solve problems. Zelensky asked him, why didn't you bring your money from selling Chelsea? That's the football team Abramovich sold in the UK. The money has been frozen? And we need that money, like bring it next time. He was even chuckling about it. I mean Zelensky, not Abramovich, when he was asked about it in an interview. It's extremely strange to behave like that with negotiators. But I'm not a diplomat, so I think, of course, those higher up know better. So, yeah. Then they also asked Zelensky if he was ready to talk to Xi Jinping to put an end to the war, and Zelensky replied that yes, he is ready for dialogue with anyone who can help end the war in Ukraine. Zelensky was immediately asked again, this time from the Russian side. In my opinion, Putin himself said that if you want to talk, Vladimir Alexandrovich, come to Moscow, you will be received and we will discuss everything. Zelensky, who had previously stated that the meeting could take place anywhere, anytime, under any circumstances, said no, he would not go to Moscow. It could be in Switzerland, it could be in the UAE, it could be somewhere in the Maldives. No, in the Maldives that's a separate meeting, probably with Umarov. But meetings like that, well, I just don't want to have them. About oil prices, Zelensky says that oil prices are falling, and that's good because Russia won't get any extra benefits. And the leaders of the G7 countries agreed that Russia is not winning. What I like most is when someone comes to some kind of agreement. It's one thing when you agree on what you need to do, and another when you agree on something that's happening somewhere else. Well, you can agree with someone on something. Like, for example, that the Earth is flat, or that world peace is about to come, or something else, but that doesn't mean it's true. In general, their conversations are strange, but as for Ukraine, the G7 countries here have agreed on the following. Trump expresses optimism, additional sanctions are being discussed. Zelensky says the German foreign minister, what's his name, something like Wunderwaffel. But let's suppose that peace talks on Ukraine could start as early as this summer. Trump hinted at the possibility of reimposing some sanctions on Russian oil. And then Zelensky showed photos of the aftermath of the Russian strike on Monday at the Kyiv-Pechersk Lavra. The photos are printed on paper, which is of course nice. I mean, it's clear that any destruction is bad, but bringing them, Trump doesn't have his own intelligence service. Trump doesn't have one. As for the internet, I think he just sits in his own social network, Trump Social, I think it's called, day and night. There are no photos of Kyiv Lavra there, even though they're everywhere else. I think they even painted them on fences. And some interesting details came out. Well, in general, insinuations are not our thing, so let's not do that. And then Zelensky made all sorts of statements there, in particular about the heart of the Moscow oil refinery burning. He meant that oil refinery. The plant even stopped, or rather suspended its operations. And here's what happened. I showed this, and I have this video on my Telegram channel where all of this is burning. They write that Ukrainian long-range weapons, meaning drones, reached deep inside Russia and hit an oil refinery in the Moscow region, which you should understand is 500 kilometers from Ukraine. This is how it looked. It was burning intensely. By the way, I showed this today as well. There was also news that a warehouse, specifically a Wild Breeze warehouse, was bombed. And something caught fire there. I don't remember if it was put out or not. But anyway, that's what's happening right now. Zelensky, in a new statement, said that Russia must be forced to end the war against our people. And Ukrainian long-range weapons are one of the important components of that coercion. Well, at least he didn't say long-range sanctions again. Honestly, I'm tired of hearing that joke. And lastly, probably from today's absurd circus, it's the news about the military enlistment officers in the Odessa region. Not only did they forcibly take people away, but they also beat them up. Everyone's already used to that. But they also committed acts of violence. Yes, the very thing you're thinking about. It's just insane. I honestly don't know what kind of person you have to be to do something like that. Not only do you take out your aggression, but you also, well, you know what I mean. In short, employees of the State Bureau of Investigation uncovered a large-scale scheme of illegally forcing citizens into mobilization. Here, of course, the State Bureau of Investigation missed the mark, because this isn't just in the military sphere. Illegal coercion of citizens into mobilization is now called notification. And those who do the coercing are called notification groups. Suddenly, these are exactly the same TCC guys, and this is happening all over Ukraine. From small settlements to huge metropolitan cities. I don't know why they missed everything else, but at least they found something somewhere. Apparently, the conditions there must have been really terrible. And now, by the way, it's about the same as it was among the serfs in the Russian Empire. Everyone was beaten there, everyone was hit. And among the serfs there was violence too. But there were those who went way beyond the limits. I forgot. Was it a noblewoman or not a noblewoman? The landowner from Nesolokina herself. Well, I forgot. That last name slipped my mind. Anyway, she did such monstrous things that she was taken to court and imprisoned. So apparently even here the things were so monstrous that they stood out even among the horrific atrocities happening in Ukraine right now. So, in order to improve mobilization rates, 6 officials from the Territorial Recruitment Center organized an illegal mechanism for bringing in and detaining men. Again, this raises a question. Have you seen the other RTCs at all? And what are they doing? Something legal? Are they using legal mechanisms to deliver and detain men or what? In their illegal activities, they involve 3 representatives of a local public organization. What kind of public organization is this anyway? Are they some kind of gangsters or what? They help to track down citizens and gather information about them. The State Bureau of Investigation recorded numerous instances of cruel treatment of the victims. The men were illegally held in a room. They were beaten, intimidated, and subjected to psychological pressure at the recruitment centers. In addition, they say, the investigation has established individual cases of violent sexual acts committed against certain victims. Honestly, I was shocked when I read this. What is this? These aren't people anymore, not even animals. Even animals wouldn't do this. It's brutal. During the search, law enforcement officers seized rubber batons, hammers, and other items that were used to physically abuse citizens. These members of the so-called notification group were detained. They are suspected of torture, unlawful deprivation of liberty, and robbery committed by an organized group. Honestly, it's a very strange situation. If they uncovered just one such organization, then what's going on in the others? And this is the Odessa region, but there are quite a few more regions in Ukraine. What's happening there? Only Zelensky seems to know. Alright, let's listen. We've heard enough from Lidor. That J7. Now let's do G7. Actually, sorry, not J7, G7. And now let's see which figures want to speak today. As always, there are a lot of them. Thank you so much to those who send videos about these figures. They're always very interesting to watch. So, I've already shown the war correspondent Geitman. There's also a guy here who looks like some Polish hero from Spazien. I recall a song about someone from Spazien. I already forgot his name, but he's there. So, there's a TV for the video. Joseph, Josen Spazien. So, Josen Spazien is appearing with Dasha Shaslivaya. And Josen has a lot of books. That's wonderful, I think, well read. That's good.
I know a lot of people from the front who say directly, where would I go? I can't go anywhere. My comrades are here. I won't leave them behind, and so on and so on. It's a brotherhood of people defending our country.
Yeah, man. So why aren't you joining this brotherhood? If it's so great, it's almost a brotherhood, you know, laurel wreaths, laurel leaves, grapevines. Go there too. You'll be a brother to your own. With Dasha Shaslivaya, she'll be like a sister and you'll be like a Cossack, like a brother. Well, that's good, that's all. If everything is so nice there, why not go? But no, for some reason he's talking about it from some little room filled with books.
On the other hand, it's a brotherhood of people bankrolling corrupt hierarchies.
A group paying into the corruption system. Alright, let's leave these statements to that guy. It's pretty strange. Then there's also the blogger Babarenko. Babarenko, who apparently just left his city where he used to fix Zhiguli cars, also has books, and they're all extremely smart. It's just that their speech is strange, disconnected, and illogical, but they're all extremely smart. Their IQ is just a couple of millimeters off the floor. So let's joyfully listen to the words of this Babarenko. Babarenkos.
Putin is funny, but he laughed at Putin.
Yes, that's a twist. Babarenko laughed at Putin. But when, before or after the bombings of Kyiv, I wonder, when did he laugh? And maybe he has his own bunker?
That Putin, whom Europe is afraid of, but Ukrainians, especially Zelensky, spit on that and say, Ukrainians...
Especially Zelensky already personifies, it turns out, all Ukrainians. That is, he doesn't serve as a hired manager. The president is a hired manager for Ukrainians, but he personifies them. So what am I talking about? Why do you need books, uncle? Really, why? Well, what's the point of them? Well, I see there's one book there, that one, and another blue one. He probably read those. The rest are just sitting there collecting dust.
Yeah, he's funny, really. Don't be afraid of him. Nothing was scary.
Then join the army, man. If there's nothing scary, then go fight, embody it too. You'll be a Ukrainian. I'll even trust you to embody me, and this embodiment acting on stage is not the same as acting on the real front. Not at the front where they usually sit, judging by the thickness of their facial muscles, but at the real front. If it's so funny, then go.
We just give him a flick, we slap him with bass shoes, and it's like...
Slap him with bass shoes. It's just, there's no comment here, just... In this speech, you try to pick out something logical, something connected, but nothing comes out. It's hard to get anything if there's nothing there.
He's not scary after all. Europeans in the civilized world were afraid, but we fought for 5 years and we're fine. They're struggling, not us.
So what? We're not doing badly, right? Uncle, do you really live in Kyiv or not? Or in some other big city, or maybe not so big? The cities are almost empty now. There are hardly any men left. Food prices are skyrocketing, water may be unavailable in winter, electricity is under attack, and there may be no heat. He claims we're not doing badly. Turns out, well, that...
It turned out that Putin turned out to be ridiculous.
Apparently, in order to get his point across that Putin is ridiculous, he repeated it 6 or 7 times. Honestly, I didn't count right away, and now I regret it. I should have counted. Apparently, he thinks that a speech you give, even if it's a short one, is just the repetition of some point, maybe 2 or 3 points. And it's preferable to stretch it out for several minutes to seem either smarter or more capable of giving long speeches. I don't get it, but there's not much use in that. Well, dear viewers, I think that's all for now. Allow me to wish you a peaceful rest of the day, a good night's sleep, and a joyful morning. Goodbye, everyone.
Mobilization is always unpopular. Let's be honest, there are no popular ones. And why can I, someone who has served, say this? Because we need to address those who are able to serve. When our president, the commander-in-chief, stays silent about armed attacks on servicemen, is this the territorial recruitment center? So what should we do? It's simple. Why not invite people who understand these issues? Professionals, those who can. For example, in my broadcasts, Serhii Krivonos explains step by step what needs to be done.